Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we are going to talk about artifacts. We've pretty much done every other piece of Magic the Gathering so far. The only other piece we really have to talk about is artifacts. So let's pull a few artifacts out here. There's a foil Sands of Delirium. We'll use that. And there's a Mind Stone. Do we have an artifact that we attach? Yes, it's equipment. There we go. We'll set that off to the side because we'll need an example of it in a moment. Okay. Now, previously, early on in the game, your artifacts didn't look like these kind of grayish or silverish cards. They had a brown tint to them. So the borders had a brown running across. But you see here it says artifact, artifact, artifact. So those are the type of cards. They're known as permanents, which means once you cast them, they're into play. And they stay in play unless they are destroyed or removed by some spell or effect. So yeah. Some of your basic artifacts are just going to be artifacts. This one's foil. I wanted to kind of show it off a little bit. But yeah. These are basic artifacts. Which means you don't attach them to any creature, they just stay into play. Like this one, you tap it, adds 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Or you tap it and pay 1, you can sacrifice the Mind Stone to draw a card. But yeah, they give you effects and they stay in play unless they are destroyed through artifact destruction spells, or like on this case, you sacrifice and thus have to put it into your graveyard. Now, this one's known as an artifact equipment. Early on in Magic, you didn't have equipment. It was just artifact. But here you see it's got an equip cost at the bottom. Equip, pay 2 mana of any color. And once you pay that 2 mana, you attach it to target creature you control. Equip only as a sorcery. which if we remember about sorceries, it can only be played during our turn. So you can't just attach it at any point. You have to wait till your turn. Now, when it enters the battlefield, you do have to attach it to target pirate you control. So this means that it can only be attached to a pirate when it enters the battlefield. And it gives the equipped creature a +2/+1 bonus. Now, just because if say the creature that this was equipped to, we'll just use this card just an example. Driver of the Dead. If it dies, your pirate's cutlass does not die with it. So it still stays in play. It's just right now a useless artifact on your side of the field. Which means it serves no real purpose until you attach it to another creature. So it stays in the battlefield, but it does nothing. One other type of artifact you could have is an artifact creature. There are creatures in the game that are artifacts. Ornithopter. It's a little cheap artifact creature you can have, depending on the set. It's basically just an O2 flyer, but it costs no mana to cast, so you just put it out into play. So yeah, that would be a type of artifact creature. When you have artifact creatures, they can be killed in battle, but they can also do the attack by themselves because they aren't dependent on having to be attached to a creature. So they function as a creature themselves, even though they are still an artifact. So they can be killed through kill creature spells or artifact destruction. Either one will end it, or if it takes the damage, goes past the damage threshold, then it dies. Like the Ornithopter can take 2 damage, but once you do the 2 damage to it, it dies. If you do more damage to it, it dies. So, but that's kind of an overview of artifacts. There isn't a whole lot of information you need to know about artifacts. You only need to put the cost on equipment. Artifacts stay in play until they are destroyed. So yeah, they're kind of like enchantments or creatures in that manner. But they're a nice little divergence from playing pure spells, pure creatures. They can go in any deck because they do not have actual colors. I think the Alara set gave us some colored artifacts. Yeah, like Tide Hollow Strix. No, it wasn't the Strix. Well, what was it? It was something. Anyway, I believe it was the Alara set that gave us some colored artifacts that you do need color mana for. But otherwise, most of your artifacts are just going to be mana of any color, so they can go into whatever deck. But yeah, that's really all you need to know about artifacts. I will try to show some actual footage of what interactions between some of these cards look like to give you a better idea. I'll have to do a little more prep for that because these I can just take and hey, there we go, da da da. Because it doesn't take a whole lot in that manner to explain, but I will try to show you some interactions with cards to get an idea of what else they can do. And then we might even get into a few full games to give you an example. But that's it for now. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. I'll see you all again in the next video. But until then, later.